Hi, I'm not wearing any pants, and this is Chilling in the Nightmare. This episode, I'm going to say something that a lot of people are not going to be happy about, but that is why I'm here, and that is what I do. So, I don't know how to say it nicely, but what I'm going to say is people who do not have children, their opinion doesn't matter. They don't know anything about anything, and they are basically children themselves. Like, if you live to an advanced age, don't have any children, and then die, you are basically not very much different than a child who dies. A child that dies does not leave behind any children. An adult with no children that dies does not leave behind any children. So, when you are dead, if you didn't leave any children, what is the difference between you and a child who dies that does not leave behind any children? Not only that, the entire perspective of a childless individual is devoid of integrity, let's say. People make a lot of commentary about the world and about their solution for the world and justifications for opting out of the system, not participating in the system, rebelling against the system, fighting the system. And almost 95% of what they say is void upon having a child. Let's take, for instance, sovereign citizens, quote unquote, who say, don't pay taxes, don't have any arrangements with the government, don't have a government ID, don't register your vehicles, don't register your property, don't participate in the system. That is certainly something that you can do, and it is noble in its own right, but it's not practical when you have little humans that are dependent on you for their existence. Interestingly, there are people who opt out of the system who do have children. I can think of one of them that I saw in the Philippines was a homeless woman who had a little baby sleeping on her, and she was sleeping on, a concrete barrier in the middle of the city. So I guess if you want to be a homeless person with a homeless baby, you can certainly opt out of the system. And there are people who, through one means or another, find a way to, exist within the system while shirking the system. But that's the exception to the rule. As a rule, you cannot opt out of the system and raise children. As a rule, if you have children, you have to participate in the system. And anti-establishment mentality is, diametrically opposed to having children. And it kind of sucks because a lot of these individuals who are making statements about how to rebel and resist and, opt out, they don't have kids. And what they're saying makes sense for people with no children, but it doesn't make sense for people with children. And the world that we live in when we have children is very different than the world that we live in when we do not have children, where opting out is a little more sensical because nobody cares what you do if you don't have kids. I guess you could invent something, or I guess you could be a leader of some sort, but it just doesn't make a lot of sense for a leader with no kids to be leading people with kids, because our priorities are completely different. When you have kids, your priority is just to find stability. But if you don't have kids, stability is negligible. When you do have kids, stability is imperative. It's not optional. There's not a lot to say about this because a lot of it is common sense, but it's something that I find difficult to listen to because it's hard to find good, they're not pundits and they're not commentators, are they just vloggers, right? Podcasters. It's hard to find any that you can take seriously when you do have kids because a lot of the only thing people really want to hear is some kind of solution to the problem, but these solutions are coming from people without kids that say things like, don't participate in the system because the system is evil. And we know the system is evil, but we have children, and we know we should not participate, but we have children. The exception is that some people can make it work. The rule is that we cannot make it work. It's occurring to me that this is not a long video because I don't have a lot to say about this. I guess maybe if I put more thought into it, but I think I've already said everything I have to say about it. I don't know who can make it work. I do know some people who say that they're making it work, but I think they're kind of fudging the details, because there's always somebody down the line that's picking up the tab. You gotta put down your pound of flesh to raise up the babies. And people who are raising babies without giving up a pound of flesh, they are someone else is giving up a pound of flesh for those babies. I don't know. I love having children, and I don't know how anybody could think of it as optional. It's the most important thing to do. Every living thing reproduces. The purpose of life is reproduction. It's not all this other nonsense that we think is important. And man, I'm not even going to try to make this much longer because it's just, what am I even saying about it? It's just annoying listening to these people, because you can't listen to anything they say about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It doesn't apply if it's coming from somebody with no kids. It doesn't make any sense. I don't know. It's just annoying because I don't think that they're aware. It's like it's a lack of, I don't know, it's a logical deficiency. They just don't have all the information, When you have the children, you have all the information. And a lot of what they're saying sounds ridiculous. I am as much of a rebel as the next person. Maybe not as much as I used to be, but certainly more so than most people. You know, there's a System of a Down song, Fuck the System. And he says, I'm just the man in the back, demeaning the pack, saying, fuck the system, fuck the system. But I bet the man in the back, demeaning the pack, saying, fuck the system, probably does not have any children. I will be one of those people who has children saying, fuck the system. But in the next breath, I'm going to tell you, except that I need the system and I don't know what I would do without the system. And the system is how my babies have food, shelter, clothing, and baubles. And when you have children, you learn that the system is good. It's not even that bad. I know it's terrible and it's the worst thing in the world, but it's not. It's the worst thing in the world is your children do not have food, water, shelter, stability. That's the worst thing in the world. The system is evil, but it's not as evil as the absence of a system in this world. In a perfect world, the absence of a system would be ideal. I don't think there's any good system, because a good system would not be a system. It would just be living, you know. I mean, do bees have a system in the hive? Do ants have a system in the hive? What is the other ones? Meerkats, right? I was watching a thing that says meerkats have a society like bees and ants, which is rare because they're mammals. But they probably don't have a system. They just live. That's the best system, where your system is not a system. And I don't know. It's just that parents of children are important people because they have children. If they did not have children, they would not be important people. They would just be annoying. You know, it's like, and we live in this weird society where we don't value human life because we were brainwashed into thinking, okay, so the most obvious thing is that we were brainwashed into thinking we're overpopulated. And we were also brainwashed into thinking if you can't afford children, don't have children, which that puts money before the sanctity of life. Money should be an afterthought. And you're going to say, what about that homeless woman in the Philippines sleeping on the concrete with the baby on her chest? And it's like, well, that baby gets to live. That baby is a living baby. And it has the miracle of life within it. And so, sure, they are in a bad situation, but it's not as bad as not existing. And, you know, these people, they want to make the world a better place. I know they do. And it's good that there's people out there who want to make the world a better place. But they just don't have all the information. There's nothing wrong with rebels, and there's nothing wrong with opting out. And there's nothing wrong with attempting to nullify the system. It's just, you can't really preach to people with children when you don't have children. And I don't know, I have a lot of thoughts in my head about people with children who do it, but they got they're just going around the back door. They have some underhanded method of making it work where somebody else becomes responsible. So, somebody's got to be responsible for the kids. And even that little homeless baby in the Philippines, as long as it's still alive, just the society at large is, responsible for that baby. They're just not doing very good. And our society is responsible for our babies. We're just, we don't do very good either. I don't think anybody does really. Except for the parents. It's the parents' responsibility to give the children a good life, which means that everything about, resisting the government, nullifying the system, standing up against evil, it all falls by the wayside. And before you have children, it can seem like the most important thing. And maybe it is. Probably it is. But there's a disconnect between people with kids and people without kids. And you don't really hear a lot of people with children getting on the internet and saying, don't register your vehicles, don't have a government issued ID, whatever, all the things that they say, which are all well and good when you don't have kids. But when you do have kids, it's just a bunch of nonsense. I think I made my point. It's not that complicated. And it's one of those things they're not going to understand. People without children are never going to understand that they are essentially children. They are selfish. Children are selfish. Children don't have children. And adults that don't have children are just also people who do not have children. And it is what it is. It's not the most profound thing you're going to hear. My whole point is that it's just annoying that these people would deign to preach about society when they are not invested in society. Society is about children. Children are the future. If you don't have children, you have no future. And not just you, anybody. Children are the most important thing in the world. And if you don't have them, then you don't know what is important. And that's all there is to it. And I appreciate these people who are speaking out against the evil. It's just they do not have all the information. And props to people who can opt out of the system and have children. I'm not one of them. I wouldn't even try to be. It seems like a fool's errand from my perspective, but other people, they do both things, but to me it's one or the other. It's like, if I had no kids, sure, I could see myself going down the path of escaping the system or nullifying the system. But for me, it doesn't make any sense because I got kids. And I'm just talking about things I hear podcasters say, and not just them, but anybody. A whole swath of the media is, talking to people who don't have kids. The writing and the perspective, the opinions, the editorials, it's all coming out of people who do not have kids, targeted at other people who don't have kids, about a world that only makes sense if you don't have kids, because you're living in a different world where you can just do other things that only make sense if you do not have kids. But you are kids. You're just grown up kids. Until you have kids, you're just a kid. I shouldn't say that, but you are just a person without kids, like a kid. You know, a kid has no kids and you have no kids. You are, in the perspective of someone who has kids, similar to a kid. But whatever, that's it. And it's just a bitter pill for these people to realize that their opinion is not particularly meaningful. But it should be a bitter pill, because you should be having kids. I mean, we were told don't make children because they were trying to eliminate our race. But our race, as it turns out, is important. It's actually more important to continue your race than to try and fight the system. So, fighting the system is all well and good when you don't have anything to lose. But when you're responsible for another human being, fighting the system doesn't mean anything. It's actually antithetical to what you're trying to do. The system is there for you to raise children, believe it or not. I mean, they've got it all twisted up and bent over backwards, but at the foundation, it was created to establish an environment where children can grow into tax-paying citizen slaves, which I'd rather be a tax-paying citizen slave than a non-existent non-entity. That's it. It's a stupid video, I know, but I wanted to say this one thing, and my only point is that it's annoying. I'm not going to say it's good or bad to be childless. I'm not going to say it's good or bad to be preaching about what's wrong with the world when you don't really have anything invested in the world. I'm just saying that it's annoying. That's it. Deuces.